Hi, I'm so glad that we were able to make this happen. And here we are. We've been in talks behind the scenes about like
Yeah.
what are we bringing to this conversation. Um, I would love for you to introduce yourself,
Mhm.
a short little spiel, and then we
Yeah.
can dive in.
Yeah, I mean, I can keep it pretty short. I'm a mum. We can keep
Yes.
it that short. So I'm a mum. I'm currently retraining in systemic family constellations here in the UK. And we can talk a bit about that and how that integrates with motherhood and the whole family system. And I also am a writer and I write essays on motherhood within Substack. Yeah.
Yes, beautiful, succinct, love it. Yeah, and we're keeping in time. We're keeping in mind the time. We have an hour's time. I feel like I get so like British. I'm like an hour's time across the pond, and you're in the UK.
Yeah, that's right. I'm actually currently in Essex, which is near
Okay.
Cambridgeshire. But I live in Somerset, which is the southwest. But I'm visiting family right now.
Okay, beautiful. Yes. Okay. So, family constellation systems, is that the full name?
Systemic family constellations. So,
Okay.
family constellation in and of itself is looking at, well, you can look at, well, you start by looking at the primary family system. So, all of the people and the aspects that sit within your primary family system and how the energetics of that play out within your own health, well-being, your relationships, the dynamics you have with others, and how intergenerational that is. So you can be carrying beliefs, habitual behavior, like symptoms within your body that are playing out as a way of you turning towards to looking towards something that has a need to be included within your system from 3, 4, 5, 6 generations back that at the time was potentially too traumatic for the family to hold, the system to hold as a whole.
Can I just
So it's
pause for 1 second? Can the group or can it include like aunties, uncles, cousins, like that? Okay. So it's not just nuclear, it's not just parent and sibling. Okay.
yeah, which is really beautiful because actually um, one of the exercises they get you to do when you're first starting to train to become a facilitator is to actually say your name and I am the daughter of, I'm the granddaughter of, and you start naming all of your lineage or the people within your system. And sometimes people haven't even said the names of their grandparents or their great grandparents, or they don't know the surname of a great grandparent. And just even in including the names, the naming of where you come from, it has a reorientation within your own bodily system, your own being, and just landing like this. These are my roots. This is how life entered me through me and put me in the world. And that's
Mm.
just such a beautiful thing to address as just a starting point.
I'm getting the beautiful visual of the family tree.
Yeah, so the family tree is one way of looking at it, but it whenever I sit within um the family tree or my system, it feels like I'm finding my right place within it. So it's almost like I become like a central point, and it's like there's like people everywhere.
Hmm.
It feels a little bit more messy than the tree itself, but yeah, yeah.
Right. Yes, because of all the stories and the histories and lives that came before.
Mhm.
Hmm. Wow. Okay. Well, I mean, I think it would be amazing if you could share how systemic family constellations came into your life and how, as you are blossoming in your motherhood, you have how old is your
My
son?
son, he's 3.5.
He's 3.5. Yeah. So as you're blossoming into your motherhood, how it's impacted, like how your psyche is impacted, how the physical, I mean, just we can get into the layers, but I think you're doing a wonderful job. So continue on.
It's actually a really interesting question because um, I the first year of motherhood for me was very challenging in terms of, so I prepared. I was very diligent. I prepared for my birth. I created an environment to have a home birth. I was like very focused on how my postpartum was going to be. I got a lot of support. I did a lot of research. I did courses. I was thorough, right? I was super, super thorough about stepping into motherhood, and I took it very seriously, which is so my kind of personality type. I did not consider how having a baby would reorientate my role, so becoming a mother, and how that would have a knock on effect on how the wider family system would shift. So, on my husband's side, we were the first grandchild. Therefore, he was the first that next generation. So, everyone shifted. So, the mother became the grandmother, right? So this is what started to happen. And in that happening, it created a lot of turbulence and a lot of conflict. And there was this feeling that my husband's mum felt almost like my baby was hers, or that there was like this obligation, or this like, I should be doing things for her in becoming a mother. Which, as you know, when you become a mother, other people aren't really the priority. Like, you and the baby are what the focus are on. Like, it's not really about accommodating someone else's emotional experience, or, especially in the early first few months, like, it's so insular, and like this bubble of just like learning on all the first times, and you're just figuring it out. Like, it's so fresh and real and survival, right? Like, am I sleeping? Am I feeding? Like, am I getting enough food? Is the baby getting enough food? Like, how's my husband doing? And, do we even have time to wash our clothes? Like, it's like
Mm.
visceral. It's like very, it's all about, yeah, being there. It's not really, from my experience, about then being accommodating to the needs of grandmothers or aunties or uncles, or as the mother then prioritizing that. So I was in this very tricky, confusing time for quite a while, and it really impacted my relationship and the whole of our little nuclear family as well. Like, we were just trying to figure it out, and it added a layer of intensity that felt really unfair and unjust and unkind, in all honesty.
Mm.
And during this time, I had a really great friend remind me about systemic family constellations. And I said, you know what? I feel like maybe we need to do something like this. I need to go and like get a wider perspective, like be able to see a bit beyond the immediate discomfort and confusion and conflict that I am really in the weeds with, and it's too close. Let's go see if I can get some support. So I took myself along to, so Otto must have been about 18 months by the time I managed to get there, but I took myself along to one of the workshops, and it was absolutely mind blowing what transpired in the most beautiful way. It allowed for so much perspective to be seen around how this dynamic was operating, like the wider family system, the other influences, the things that needed to be included. Um, it also had us working with an estrangement with a sibling that was like caught in the system, that actually ended up getting in touch with my husband a few days later, and they had no idea what was happening. So, like, really powerful movements in within his family system that was impacting me, this new mother, in such a huge way. And uh, after, in the weeks that followed, it just really struck me, as someone that had been on a path of growth and development and had an awareness practice for a really long time, that I was always looking for a system or a methodology that I could work with clients with, that could hold more of the data within the field. So, what was accessible for, and which gave an opportunity for healing here in the moment, that wasn't about excavating, like, oh, tell me more about this, like the traditional psychotherapeutic route, but more was allowing for yeah, for a much wider perspective to be held and embodied and seen and understood at a very visceral and physical level in your own body. And this seemed to be that. And so it was about a year later when I realized, I think actually I'm going to train in this, because it's allowed such a transformational shift now with my husband's mother, who is absolutely in our lives and has a relationship with us in a way I never thought was possible.
Mm.
Um, yeah, and I feel like that could have easily like fallen away. And I think for people in these like big initiation moments where everything feels very much like life and death, relationships become tricky, and it's like it's actually just easier to not. And I think the beauty was that the work and the support was there for us to be able to move through that in a way that's allowed, for healing and transformation. So yeah, it's a beautiful place to take things, especially family things.
So, were you seeing a constellation therapist over that 18 months
No,
personally, or were you continuing to go into the group setting, or what did it look like?
yeah. So you go and do like group workshops. And alongside that, I actually did seek out weekly therapy just to support myself during postpartum, because I felt that a lot of my own just stuff just kept coming up in those early months of motherhood, and up until about 2.5, so about a year ago. Yeah, so like the first 2.5 years, it was just like, wow, okay, I've stepped into motherhood, and here's more, and here's more, and here's more. And I don't know if it was like the actually I do have a sense that it was almost like in the exhaustion, in the fact that I wasn't sleeping for so long, that
Mm.
something in me relinquished itself, and it was like this barrier like broke, and everything that needed to be seen, that I'd been holding behind like my ability to cope like before motherhood, it was just wasn't there anymore. And so in the mess, in the exhaustion, in the like milk and blood and like sweat and tears, it was like, here's all the stuff you haven't been looking at as well, like surely in this moment now's a good time. And it's like, what?
Well, there's
you
no
know
other choice
yeah,
because you have to
so,
show up for yourself in order to show up for your child, for your partner. So it's like, listen, Skyla, you have been avoiding this subconsciously, right? You're subconsciously
yeah.
avoiding it. You're not like, yeah, I don't really want to look at this right now. It's like you don't even, I feel like that's what is so fascinating to me about our psyche is that it's almost all unconscious, like the patterns. And then is the idea also behind, because I haven't personally experienced um, systemic constellation like workshop.
Mhm.
I was telling you, I was watching the
Yeah.
video before we came on um, of one in motion, but is the idea that I think it's very abstract. Like I was saying, like to you before this, if you don't experience it, if you're not in person in the room, I feel like it's very abstract. Are you able to kind of explain a mock of like what, like maybe give an example, not necessarily from your life, but just that you've
Yeah.
witnessed or that you could make up? It might give a better picture. I feel like it's unclear.
So wait, so what family constellations does is it puts you in direct relationship to the information that is already within your body. So let's start there.
Okay.
So people will understand what a gut feeling is. People will understand maybe like what their intuition is, like to listen to something intuitively and make a decision based on that. And I would argue that when you are representing within a family constellation. So if you imagine like a room of people, and then there's what's called an issue holder who sits at the front and is interviewed by the facilitator about the issue that they would like to bring and to constellate, right?
Okay.
And when you constellate an issue, you invite members of the group to step in and represent an aspect, a person, an organization, a country, whatever is necessary for us to discover what we need to know that we currently don't know. And that's the most important thing. When you're in therapy, you're looking for what you know and what you can understand, right? And often you have aha moments that's, oh, it must be this, right? But you're using your brain in a different way to the way that you're invited to work with your brain and your body when you're constellating. So you have an issue, you invite representatives to be aspects of that issue so that you can discover what is missing, what isn't currently seen or understood, where the stuckness is felt in the system, where the lack of movement is, where the yeah,
The
where the
holding pattern or
yes, exactly. Yeah. And the way that you do that is through having these people represent. So it might be like I don't know, you have a problem with your next door neighbor.
I actually do.
Oh, so you have a problem with your next door neighbor and you're like, I can't figure it out. I've tried offering cups of sugar, I've popped my head over the fence, but their dog keeps shitting in my garden and I just don't know how to communicate this any clearer. I have young children, I can't keep clearing up someone else's dog shit. It's a problem, right? So this kind of thing's a great one to like play with because it's not too deep, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
just
we're just going light.
yeah, we're going like so like you have something like this and you're like, I don't know what to do. And what's fascinating is when you're gathering the information, just like the headlines from the person with the issue, often you'll hear like in the story like some judgment or assumptions or like the perspective of what they are observing as one way. And and really the beauty of consolidating something is that it's not from a place of right and wrong or morality or like this is good, this is bad, this is the agenda, like this is what we want, this is how we see like movement flow, like it's like no, we actually just want to see like what don't we know about this situation, like what could we learn here, like why is there a stuckness here where we can't communicate something that allows a new movement, because really we're just looking for movement. Maybe you actually end up moving house, or maybe their dog like gets rehomed, or like maybe he keeps shitting in the garden but they come and pick it up every morning at 8 a.m. We're just looking for a movement, and right now there's a stuckness, right? So you have someone represent both, maybe you, maybe them, maybe even the dog. Like, why does the dog eat? And this is where it gets really fun, because you have people that aren't you giving you information from the world. So it's very phenomenological. So they don't know anything. And actually, what we're just looking for is data from their body. Do you feel hot? Do you feel cold? Do you feel better or worse when we step you closer to your neighbor or further away? Like, if I was to get the neighbor to say to you, I'm sorry, does your body feel more relaxed or does it feel more contracted? And so, through this kind of body testing, in a way, we start to be able to play with scenarios or movements that start to allow us to understand the situation with more clarity, with more understanding. And it feels quite playful. So you can actually hold incredibly deep issues in a way that allows for a reverence, a respect, and also for insight to emerge outside of the projection that is locking that situation into a fixed position. Um, yeah, and what we find is when you start working in this way, so it might be that actually you do the constellation with your neighbor and the dog's even saying, I just prefer it. The grass is softer. I like to, her garden has more sunlight at 9 a.m. and I like to poo in the sun, like, and you're getting this information. Um, and then it's not always even about resolving it either, which I find so incredible, because this like need to fix or make better actually can also be a position of stuckness. It can also be a position of like trying
Rigidity.
to force, Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Trying to force through something that doesn't want to move in that direction. So
Mm.
even just through looking at it and exploring it in ways that maybe perhaps the individual hadn't seen, or started to include, oh, my neighbor's actually really lonely. The dog is really important to them. Their garden's really small and has lots of overgrown trees. Like all of a sudden, like there's like this perspective shift. And that sometimes is enough that the next day something happens and movement starts moving again in that situation. And the more and more I do these funny, like, oh, let's just play around with this email I got from this company, or let's just play around with this very small conflict I had with the local shopkeeper, or right, or the mum of the toddler at the playgroup, and stuff just starts moving. And I think, life wants you to move into life. Life doesn't want you to be stuck at home feeling like you can't speak or connect or be in relationship with others, or right, like
Mm.
it's about being in the flow of life meeting life. So once you start addressing things in this way, like everything just kind of starts to move again. And yeah, it brings a lot of joy and a lot of creative flow. So
Wow, I can see how, like, I'm just imagining you in your early postpartum being in the depths and then starting to like see the light and emerge and feel that like vitality as you're evolving in your motherhood, but then
mm,
how the tentacles are like reaching all of the other players in your life, from your
mm,
partner to the shopkeeper to even having more compassion for someone who's, not even in your like orbit, but just almost like opening you up. It seems like it's offering the ability to enter into more of a receptive state more of the time, like more often than being
yes.
like contracted.
Yeah, and I think like the other thing I really noticed is that it's allowing for an even deeper respect for, like, when I'm driving the car and there's two routes I can take, and my head says, "Oh, just go the way you always go," but then my heart's like, "Oh, but there's really pretty trees down there. I think it would feel good to go that way." My head's like, "Yeah, but it's probably 2 minutes longer, right? Like 2 minutes. It's probably going to be, and you'll be late for the pickup or whatever." And I'm like, "I don't know. Let's see if it is 2 minutes longer." Right. So it's like following what
Mhm.
feels good. Like,
Mm.
because there's this orientation and in constellations, like, does that feel better or worse? Like, and we're looking for better, right? We're looking for movement, we're looking for flow. So it's now also become this daily inquiry into, can I lean more into what feels better, right? Not what I think I have to be doing, not what, yes, jobs need to be done. Yes, I need to look after my son. Yes, there's stuff, right? We all have stuff and a to-do list that's never ending. But in that, can I choose more joy or more play or more, or just pleasure, like for myself, whilst I'm getting on with all of this stuff? Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Wow, what a beautiful way to live.
Mm. When you
Um,
remember.
when you remember,
When
yes.
you remember. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, when it's presented to you as opportunity, right? Like I have learned that conflict is the greatest opportunity. Like,
Mm.
you're getting something reflected back to you that you're likely, you know, not wanting to know about yourself. You're like,
Mm.
oh, it'd be better, ignorance is bliss kind of thing. But then the growth and evolution that can come from really, um, yeah, allowing, like, I guess, allowing for that feedback, but um, not letting it seep into you. Like I feel like
Love
the last couple of years I've had so much growth in that area of like being able to receive someone's feedback and not take it personally. I mean, one of the four agreements, the book
it.
Miguel's,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
is like we're not, yeah, and I think that goes into victim consciousness too. Like you are much more powerful than I think a lot of people feel like they are. Um, and also, I wanted to say, like, when it comes to the in person constellation stuff, it sounds like magic. Like, it honestly sounds like the energetics and the magic of it all
Mm.
is just like present, like it's palpable, like your body physically moves towards or away from a person and your heart rate increases and your eyes dilate. It's like
Mm.
there's all these physiological sensations that
Mhm.
are occurring. I imagine it's, yeah, it's so fascinating to witness, like,
Yeah,
and it's people you don't know, right? Like you
that's
go
it.
into this
That's
room and you
yeah.
don't know anybody.
Yeah, I think that's what feels like magic, even though it's not, is that their bodies are receiving information and telling a story that you know as the issue holder. So you're watching strangers tell your story in a way that resonates not just to the mind, but like all the way through to the core of like nuances, phrases come out people's mouths, and you're like, that's something my granny says. Like, wow. Like this is how um, close we are in every moment to
Mm.
information, right? About everything.
And
It's
to one another too.
yeah, yeah, and yeah, in all ways, yes. I
Mhm.
also wanted to pick up the point you made about conflict, which is something that I a thread I'm following at the moment because I think in motherhood, what I did as a way of protecting myself was removed myself from stepping in to conflict. So in a way like minimizing or swallowing or not saying things that were maybe boundaries or important or advocating for myself and my child, etc., because I didn't want to step. So like the piece even behind like I'm in conflict and it's not personal for me, it was like, can I choose to be in conflict and mother at the same time, like either with my child or with another person? And for me that's like a real it just there are some days where it just asks too much of me to be that advocate, and actually consciously I don't. Other
Mhm.
days I don't even like register that that was the opportunity or that was what was needed in that moment. But I really am like as a prayer at the moment, desiring to feel more stable in yeah, self-application, speaking up, like boundaries, like being willing to be in conflict with another and not take it personally before it's even happened.
Mhm. And not writing the story like we
Right.
often are thinking, oh, this is how
Yeah,
this is going to be
yeah,
perceived.
yeah, yeah.
And there's so much like um sort of, I don't like, sparkle about, like, you don't know, like you're going off of past experience, which is what, our brains naturally will do, but it's like um we have to change that neural pathway so that we're not just automatically assuming this will be taken in a negative way, this will be taken as a judgment, right? I feel
Right.
like that's the art of being human, like interacting with others and really honing that interpersonal, relational skill that is, especially in a time of so much tech boom. Like, I feel like this is kind of another tangent, but this is like an incredible tech boom we're having with AI at our fingertips. And it's like, we need to continue to hone this skill of being in conflict with each other, with our spouses, with our partners and families, and having that ripple into um, bigger kind of geopolitical spaces. Like, it affects that. Like, what's happening in the home is affecting that. So that's why I feel like this conversation is so potent right now, because um, we're living in a time where things are shifting so rapidly that, like, we need to be present with what is. And I feel like that comes back to like the actual presence of what is happening in my body. Like, am I attuned to when I feel like, my stomach is starting to hurt? And that is my body signaling something to me. So, am I listening to that? Like, there's so many layers to this. I want to talk about motherhood myth that you've been. Can we switch gears into motherhood myth?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So Motherhood Myth is well, is a collab with my friend Becca Kaya, and she was one of my birth team and a friend before that. And well, after we both had babies, I think Otto and Nalu are 3 months maybe between them. So we both had babies, and we were both having really interesting experiences as we emerged into the world and we're interacting with society and our communities, and lots of fire and reading books and being like, I don't fucking agree with that. Like real like voice noting each other like whilst our child was like sleeping or feeding or like whatever. And I had this really clear insight as someone that has always really kind of researched the human condition and is very interested in, yeah, initiation and rites of passage and chapters of life. And as a filmmaker, which is what was in my 20s, and as a storyteller and a script writer, this this power of the story, of the collective myth. And I don't know if you've heard of Joseph Campbell, but he was a beautiful man that spoke to this in ways how, if you want to create real change, you change the myth, you change the story. And there was something in me that started to observe the myths of motherhood and the ones that I had collected or taken on from my own family, from society, from other mothers on Instagram, like different communities. And I was just like, I don't like that. Like, I don't like that my unborn like fetus is being called naughty in a midwife appointment, and that there's like this inherent belief that children are always like acting up. Like you start to
Mhm.
kind of catch these ways and the language and the phrases that we use as this like half joke. And I've always been a bit serious as a child. I was like, that's bullying. That's not funny. Like when people use like humor to kind of deflect, to be like, oh, we're just joking about this thing. I'm like, yeah, but words have power. Like it's powerful to say those things. And do we want to be saying those things collectively about mothers, about children, about how we are decentering them all the time? Like we're not putting them at the forefront of people's hearts, minds, like actions. And it becomes very clear when you're a first time mum how the world actually works and your place within it as a new mum. So this was like this fire, and that's when I decided, I'm going to start writing again. I haven't written in ages. I'm going to start Substack. And I was like, maybe it's not like the creative path that I thought, but I have such an interest in these more taboo subjects and these these points of conflict that I'm yes, that was someone in a butcher or like a baker's or something said something, and it was like ha ha ha, and I was like, oh, that's gross. Actually, I don't want that to be how we talk about our babies. Um, so that was like the beginning, and then we tried for a while, Beck and I, through our conversations, to start, and it actually took 3 years. Yes, because the timing, the energy, I think we had to move through those like really early fundamental years. When they get to 3, the child is fairly robust, and it's now almost we're kind of robust in that as well. And we just sort of said one day, let's just start the conversations. There's a desire to expand it into like a bit like Humans of New York, say like Mothers of the World. So just to interview mothers about their story and everything, and to create these beautiful profiles. And we'd really like to, yeah, just speak
Mhm.
as weekly as we can, and see where it goes. But yeah, I feel it's time to rewrite some of these myths to create space for something new that isn't just the crunchy mom or the vanilla mom or the big corporate mom or the like boss babe mom or like the
Mm,
stay at home quietly mom. Like it's like there's so much creativity and expansion, especially with the tech boom and the wider political stage. And I just don't really resonate with any of these archetypal roles and beliefs that are attached to them anymore. And I
mm,
think it's good to have conversations and flesh it out, like, and ask, is that true? Like, do I believe that? Like,
mm,
let's just play around and find out, like maybe it is, maybe that's an inherent biological truth and it's super robust, but let's push against it until we actually determine that to be a direct experience in me that feels true, right? And I think that is the beauty of staying present and aware and curious, which is the best place in my opinion to sit, um, and stepping into yeah, a new stage of life.
So are you writing down as things kind of come up for you? Do you take notes to, and like, do you have a process of, you mentioned you have, what did you say, a meditation practice or, yeah, what does that look like? How you're like integrating life that's flowing through you?
What, like, as I challenge things that maybe I don't feel are like, rephrase the question a little bit,
Oh,
like.
I guess like how are you keeping track of all that's moving through you? Are there just certain things that you're like, "Ooh, this is really alive right now?" Or do you kind of like um yeah, I guess what's your process in what you bring to the mother myth? Like is it what's alive for you in that moment or is it like, "Oh no, this happened 2 weeks ago and I'm still integrating?" Or is it
Mhm.
a mix?
So, so before we started having our conversations, for me, something would come. I wrote an earlier piece around crying, like letting a child cry, and like I kept having these interactions with unpresent guardians, parents, caregivers, whatever, with young children, and it was like a chainsaw through my chest. It was like something is
Mm,
out of alignment here. I don't know. It's not from a judgmental space, but it's from an observation of something I am noticing, and I'm very curious about why it keeps speaking to me so viscerally. And I was sat at the opticians, and I started writing the article about it, and that became one of my earlier essays, which had so many comments from mothers who said, "Oh my God, my daughter is a young adult now, or like a late teen, and I'm now only sitting down with her and being like, that was a misstep, like I actively remember choosing not to tend to you in those moments when you were little, and I now see the impact of that. And I had no idea that in writing my experience of what I was understanding through that curiosity and that lens of observation, and trusting the depth of feeling in my system of what clarity was coming through in my essay, I had no idea that anyone would either resonate or want to share in a way that felt so almost confessional. And I think
mhm,
this is the thing that I feel like I really am learning as I'm starting to really lean into like the uncomfortable truths that I want to express or write. Almost they feel like a bit like, can I push on that door? Like that, some people are going to be pissed off if I write something in that way. Like, does that feel safe to explore that as a topic, Um, but when I've really trusted, I can write this from a place of my experience rather than it being like a judgment of a situation, right? And the more I own it as like, this is what I perceive, this is what I'm curious about, like a dialogue,
mhm.
it's so beautiful to see what then arises for other mothers within the comments section, and how we can start to collect so many different perspectives and understandings, and we can widen like the cauldron of understanding, so that it's not just like, well, I think this. It's like, who the fuck am I, man? Like, motherhood is very, it's everyone has a mother, right? It's kind of like the biggest thing there is. So, there's gonna be like so many different lenses and perspectives
Mhm.
and experiences that are asking to be held on different subject matters. And I really truly believe they can be. Like, I definitely don't feel like I'm someone that wants to polarize. If anything, I want to be like, I'm experiencing this. Do you? And if not, like, come in and share with me the other side of this so we can learn more together. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that about your writing is that it's so personal and it's so intimate, but it invites the reader to like imagine themselves in your life. Like that's how like when you like have the beautiful piece about allo parenting in Japan, and it's like I just pictured myself right there or like a
Oh.
fly on the wall, you know? Like it's really yeah, it's very like detailed and it just yeah, and I'm so visual that I just love to read all of the bits and bobs. Is there anywhere that you want to go? We have like 20 minutes. Is there anywhere that you want to go that we um maybe you and I had talked about previously or just that's like coming up now? We could also just like sit for a minute and I'm like integrating just yeah, the last 40 minutes has really been better than I could have imagined. Our first time meeting and yeah, actually getting to be face to face
Yeah.
virtually.
I I don't know. I feel like it's a bit like what I was just saying, that I feel like I'm brand new to motherhood, right? I have one child. I'm like 3.5 years in. Like, I'm still so brand new. And I also feel like the world is brand new with motherhood. Not like in like that mothers are brand new, but like we are still treating motherhood like it doesn't exist. Like it's like this like afterthought, or this like, oh yeah, 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 that's going on, but all of this. And I just have this sense and this desire through, whether it's like this conversation, whether I can hopefully continue to write and be moved to write about things that feel meaningful and are challenging certain things around motherhood that I feel either constrictive or um, don't allow for us to be more centered and made space for. But I feel like there is an absolute need and a desire in me to utilize whatever platforms we have right now to be more inclusive of the truer experience, and to allow that to breathe out more, which is why I said yes to this. I'm like, oh, I
Mhm.
haven't done this in like 3 years, but let's play, because I really just feel so passionately that um even in this kind of woke culture or this feminism, like, that we're all still hiding like the actual truth of what it really means to mother. And not only are we hiding, we're like holding more than ever. So it's like this, like,
Yeah.
layers upon layers of like shit that isn't allowing us to thrive, but we should be thriving because we're woke, and we're also like, you know and we can do it
We're
all
so
now,
aware.
and we're so aware.
We're
And
so aware of our trauma. We're so aware of, the abandonment wound. It's like,
yeah. How's that working out for you? Is it making life easier? I mean, I don't know.
yeah, no, it's
No,
like a question. It's just something to kind of, yeah, put out there of like, are, how are we integrating all that we're learning, right? Like from the books and the podcasts and the stories and our therapy sessions. Like, I think of like art, music, painting, writing, film, like creating from our suffering. Like like life is suffering and how are we creating it comes back to that joy and beauty and pleasure.
Mm.
And that's why I
Oh,
I feel like we're at a time where if we're not creating our art, we're doing ourselves a disservice and we're doing like other mothers a disservice too. Because like when you're sharing, and by art, sharing a story, like you're sharing the messiness, the rawness, your reality, and it's allowing somebody else to be like, okay, my house is a mess too. Like I yelled at my husband last night too. Like
yeah.
that is a reality that so many people, I would argue, like most people are living their lives with messiness, right? I mean, we're
Mm.
human. And so I just, yeah, I don't know. I just like, I really want to encourage whoever's listening that we need you to make your art in whatever form that is. And it's okay for it to be, you know, messy. Like messy art is my favorite. Like I don't really like a pristine, look of so, like the polished. Like I like there to be this rawness,
Mhm.
animalistic, and that is mother is primordial,
Mm.
right? And great mother is the rawest, most destructive, you
Mhm.
know, and humans actually are that way too. So are we embracing that? And these are just kind of questions that are coming up that I'm just like,
Mhm.
it's just channeling through. It's just like, are we embracing that? And then are we sharing it with others? Which I think your Substack, my Substack, like we're just putting out what we feel like needs to move, like to go back to the constellation work, like moving things, like what is shifting things, you
Mhm.
saying something, you having a conversation, you moving your body in a certain way, whether it's in your own home or it's out at the club or, at a static dance. It's like we need to be, yeah, it's like there's like this yang energy being in the sort of the end of summer where people are, not quite back at school yet. The kids are, still out. So there's just all this energy that's, yeah, been bubbling up, I think, throughout the last, the season of summer. And how are we, yeah, I'm excited to see just even after this conversation, how things are being alchemized.
Mm. Yeah, I think that's why I turned to Substack in the beginning. So I just needed a creative outlet just for me. And I was doing it just for myself. And then I was like, wait, people are subscribing. Like I didn't invite, like I've done things before and I'm like, oh, just invite people that I know more, like get myself started. And this was just like I did not mind if no one read it. It was like my way of process meeting art and allowing space for the unspoken to be spoken and received for myself, like in a way that was like, yes, I need to vocalize, I need to express the unspeakable, because so much of motherhood for me felt just like raw and unspeakable. And I love what you're saying about like we need to be seen and witnessed within our messiness and in our spaces, because that was such a healing and a breakthrough moment for me, living with another family for 5 weeks. And we're actually going back to Japan to live for 4 months in December, because it was such
Ooh,
a beautiful
wow.
experience for us as a family. And I think there's more to learn. I just think there's so much more to learn about living with other young families and how nourishing that can be. It felt like the scariest thing in the world, like it would be the biggest mistake to do that. And it just gave so many gifts on multiple levels. Yeah. So, yes, to inviting people around when your house is a mess.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
Um, wow, 4 months and
Mm.
so much opportunity for conflict too.
Yeah. Right.
To enter, and also like you're living with them, so it's like you can't avoid it. Like it
Yeah.
has to be, it's going to be brought up. Wow. Well, as we're closing, I'm wondering, what the family, or what is it, systemic family constellation, what your training, what the rest of your training looks like, and if you're going to be um, needing to practice on anybody, or if you're going to start offering. I think you're already offering some
Yeah.
sessions, but yeah.
Thank you for asking. So the first year will finish in November before we go to Japan, which is beautiful. And the first year is very much just for like yourself in many ways, because you're really learning about your own system. And then I will start next year, the applied year, which will be a lot of practicing. So I think probably from spring next year, I'm going to be like, come mamas, let me let me constellate for you. I'd really like to, by the end of next year, when I will graduate, after the 2 years, start doing one-on-one sessions again. I had a one-on-one coaching practice for about a decade, but this feels like I can really start to shift from that sort of like serving women around their voice and their business and things that I was good at, but to a much more therapeutic, heartfelt, heart centered, present, yeah, embodied practice of being with mothers just where they are and what is moving for them or feeling incredibly stuck within their own life and raising a child, raising a home, like being there with their partner, figuring out their career, their creativity, and allowing there to be this discourse and having this as a tool to serve movement will be chef's kiss.
My gosh. Wow. And
Yeah.
are the trainings, or the trainings and the workshops, they're all in person or there's a remote? I'm just wondering, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
because
So
Bert
I'll be
Hellinger was German.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
correct. Yeah. Yeah. So you can the workshops, obviously it's better to do in person, but during COVID a lot of stuff went online, and what was fascinating is that it translated. So that was like a big learning for the whole organization to be like, "Oh, wow." Because you're working with the field and the data is in the field, kind of makes sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I've had one-on-one sessions with elders and teachers in this work, and they're very beautiful and powerful. And I'll definitely be offering them online. I think also like 3/4 of my readers are in the US, so it
Wow.
was really nice to be able to offer out to people who like reading my essays and yeah,
Yes.
be able to do that. So
Okay.
yeah,
Neat. That's neat. Okay. Hmm, I'm just thinking, oh, could we, the spirit mind,
yeah.
can we, could you talk about that in the
This
context of systemic family constellation? That's what, yeah, Bert, what I was watching, Bert was
okay.
using that phrase, the spirit mind.
Can you expand a little bit on what he was
No,
saying?
I thought that that was like a core pillar of family constellation.
I mean, there's like 13 orders. There's so it's
Okay.
so
It's
yeah.
it's more intricate than, okay, okay.
But I love that that's the one you were watching. Maybe you could drop me the link and I can
Sure,
also learn from it.
sure, yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, it's so like etheric and abstract to me, until I'm like, I don't know, we're energetic beings. I just need to witness and see with my eyes, and ears. But so people can, if they want to explore systemic family constellation, they can go to the Bert Hellinger, they can go to the website, and then there's like licensed, or there's people who have trained in this that they can work with, they can find workshops, and is it international?
Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm sure there are some beautiful teachers in the US. In fact,
Okay,
I was pointed to one the other day that I can send you probably.
wonderful.
If you put something up. Yeah.
Is she the grandma? Mother Sarah, mother?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, Alyssa, who is on here, I believe has worked with her, or she recommended her. So yeah, she must
Yeah.
be
Well,
the
she's like amazing.
and
Yeah.
she's aging. I mean,
Mm.
she's right. Isn't she like in her 80s or
Yeah.
something?
But I kind of feel like it's the elders that you want to sit with in this work.
Yes.
This isn't
Oh,
something that you want, like, flippantly. Yeah, it's
absolutely. I just meant
it's
she's getting closer to
so if you
dying.
would like to work with her, maybe seek her out.
Amazing. Okay, great. Well, I feel so honored that you wanted to come and chat, and that, yeah, this felt so juicy and alive, and like there's we could have gone into so much more, I don't know, story about every little thing. I love the neighbor and dog example that you gave that just kind of came up. Yeah, I think that's nice to bring it back to, that it is playful, and like it can feel very heavy because it's it's I mean, there's dark energy, there's shadow, and but we do need to bring it to the light in order to keep evolving and to keep moving our lives forward. Um, yeah, I think I mentioned this before, like you didn't have a choice when you were in that early postpartum. Like it was going to come up because that was that yeah, the birth process and the early postpartum is meant to break you open. Right. And so when you're broken open, then there's so much opportunity um for release. That is such a gift. Like what a gift that we get to experience that as women, and get to keep moving forward and sharing our experiences. Um to just, yeah, keep raising, I guess, the collective frequency of like we're in this together. Like you're
Mm,
really not alone. You're really, really not alone. And gosh, it can feel so lonely to be in the depths
mm,
of that. But
yeah. What a beautiful place to finish.
yes, wonderful. Thank you, Skyla. Skyla Grace. You go by Skyla.
Skylar Grace Hart, because I'm now
Skyla Grace.
married.
You're now married. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Congratulations. Newly
thanks.
married. I will save this. It will live on my page. It can be
Beautiful.
shared out into the ether. And yeah, may we just continue holding in our hearts that we can we can move forward with grace and sometimes not grace. It's a whole mix.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you so
It's
much.
beautiful.
Have a beautiful evening. I know it's evening time for you, and we'll talk soon.
Yeah, thanks. Take great care. Bye.
Okay, bye.